I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
My name is Anastacia Mavrias Kelly, and I'm here today to represent the Greek culture in Roseville. In Roseville, there were three things that attracted the immigrants: the pottery barn in Lincoln, the Southern Pacific Railroad, and the ice plant, all of which just required labor and no discussion. Verbalization, which aided, of course, with communication. My great-grandfather, John Papajohn, had made 2 trips to America. On his second trip, he decided to bring his 2 daughters for marriage. Because, you see, in Europe after World War I, there was poverty and there were no jobs. The economy had fallen greatly. The only hope was the golden country of America. My grandmother's name was Helen Papajohn, and she traveled with her sister, Katherine Papajohn. They came to Ellis Island in 1914. My grandfather must have made connections with other Greeks here in America because they were greeted by a Greek who gave them each notes safety pinned to their shoulders to travel to America on the train. They boarded the train faithfully, and they were to stop in Chicago. At which time, my great-aunt Catherine fell in love. She never made it to California. It created a rift between my grandmother and my great-aunt that lasted a lifetime. My grandmother arrived in Roseville, California, greeted by her father. At which time, my great-grandfather told her that she needed to marry to stay in America. And she did what she was to do. She selected from 7 young men my grandfather, Louis Eliopoulos. Louis was working at the pottery field in Lincoln and had recently just became partners with a man named John Gavadas. The 2 of them purchased for $1,000 the Sacramento Brewing Company. In Greece, it's quite popular to have a cafenia, so my grandfather had hoped he could make a living with that. Unfortunately, it did not work, leaving my grandmother as a sole supporter. My grandmother was the mother of 6 children, 3 that had reached adulthood. I am her daughter's child, Crisilla Eliopoulos Mavrias. I had 4 siblings, and there are only 3 of us left, my sisters, Stephanie and Elaine. My grandmother's greatest dream was for all of us to be educated because she wasn't allowed that grace. She lived here in Roseville amongst a Greek community that took care of each other. My grandmother was a midwife. They took care of each other during childbirth because the only doctor here in Roseville was Dr. Woodbridge, and he did not speak any other language other than English. So my grandmother would willingly go and help her friends deliver her children. My grandfather, Louis, became crippled at a very young age, leaving my grandmother a sole supporter. So my grandmother worked, taking in boarders into her home, doing laundry, and also working at the cannery. My sisters and I were told from a very young age to make sure that we were educated, so all 3 of us became educators. The Greek culture is one that is very tightly bound to its family and to its religion. You cannot separate our culture from our religion. And because of that, we have been insulated from many changes of the world. We are impassioned people and proud to be the immigrants of America. Thank you.